2. All right. Um, Tonight we got 9 games on the schedule. We had 8 yesterday and we got 8 tomorrow. So it's a lot easier for me to follow all of this when there aren't, say, 13 to 15 games going on and you'll have like 8 going on at a time. My TV, I can watch one channel at a time. I don't have picture in picture, and if I did, I wouldn't have a source for that picture inside the picture to make that work. And it can remember the last 5 channels I've been to. When there's 7 or 8 games on at once, there's going to be a game that I missed to go back to because my TV can't, like my cable box can't physically remember every single channel I've gone to. Which is part of what happens sometimes when people are like, wait, you didn't see this game? I'm like, no, because I was scrolling back and forth between games, and that one was the least interesting, or was the one I felt had the least on the line, so I forgot all about it. When there are 8 to 9 games, I can do that, because usually there's only 4 or 5 on it, the most. And tonight we got 9, and we're starting with Montreal. 24, 29, and 9 is the record, or 24, 29, and 10 is the record overall. They're 2-4-4 in their last 10. 8, 19, and 2 on the road, and Lindgren's their starter. Goaltending's not been a problem. Lindgren and Niemi have both played very well. That being said, anything about Carey Price and whether or not he's going to be back would be of great concern to Montreal fandom. The New York Islanders 29, 28, and 7. They're 3-6-1 in their last 10, and at home they're 16, 11, and 4, which is okay. It's not a great home record. Halak starting tonight. It's a weird thing that's gone on with the Islanders. So they've allowed fewer shots over the last, I would say over the last 5 games than they had been allowing, and yet they're losing them. And I look at that and it's like, I trying to get a read on the Islanders right now is really difficult. So it's like their offense has dropped. I mean, their numbers have dropped over their last, I would again say, I want to say 5 or 6 games. And yet their defense seems to have either solidified a little bit, or they've completely changed the way they're playing the game in an effort to stop those shots against, and they're still finding a way to lose them. And now they're playing at home against the team that beat them the other night. So this is a home and home for the Islanders in Montreal. And for Montreal, really at this point, I mean, you're not going to make the playoffs, but if you can prevent another team from making the playoffs, then that's something. It's something that you've done. And it would make fans of this team very happy. There we go. Yeah, that showed it. I know these don't show up very well on the camera, but fun stuff. But yeah, so the Islanders and Montreal are both teams with poor records in their last 10, and the Islanders are poor at the wrong time. Because even though Columbus hasn't necessarily been a whole lot better, they have been better. And they are, getting to the point where they might be home and cleared soon. I want to say that, and yet with the Metro you can't tell, and there's a team I'm going to talk about that's making it very clear that they're in this race. They're in it. And I don't know that everybody took them seriously a couple of weeks ago, but this guy did. I did. I was like, wow, they're playing really well. So let's go ahead and get to them. Florida. 30, 25, and 6. 7 and 3 in their last 10. 17, 9, and 3 at home. They've won 3 in a row at home. Reimer's starting for them tonight. Buffalo is the visiting team with a 20, 33, and 11 record. 5, 4, and 1 in their last 10. 11, 15, and 7 on the road. And even though that record sounds kind of bad, it's better than their home record. Buffalo has been putting up some kind of stunning numbers at home, or on the road. At home, they've been stunning in the other direction, but most of their stunning upsets have been on the road. So they're chasing down Columbus. Columbus has 69 points. They have 66. Florida's 3 points out. They've had 14 points in their last 10, and Columbus has had 11 points. So if that trajectory continues, guess what? Florida could very well find themselves in the playoffs, especially with the Islanders over that same period of time putting up 7 points. So it's been a 7-point swing over 10 games between them and the Islanders. I'm not worried about Reimer starting for Florida because he's had some games off. I mean, Luongo's been playing great, but with some games off, I think Reimer can stand in there and do pretty well. And Buffalo, though they've had some good results, they're still Buffalo, and they're still a team that Florida, with the way they've been playing, should be able to defeat. Especially with the way that Barkov's trying to put this team on his back. I marvel at some of the players in Florida and how they're playing right now. Like, and it's always been that they've been good, but it's sort of like, and I'm wondering where exactly that light switch went on, where the players went, hey, we can do this. But it's kind of funny how they were 5 points out of the playoffs on Monday, and there was no selling by Florida. And that had to be another injection of confidence in these players, that management was like, okay, I'm going to see what you guys can do. I'm going to leave it alone. And so far, so good. And for Buffalo, you're playing out the string. You're trying to spoil the season for people, much like Montreal. And they're going to try that again tonight. They've had a decent record doing so, too. New Jersey. Jersey coming off of a couple of tough losses. They're 33-23-8 overall. They're 6-4 over their last 10. They're 16-11-5 on the road. Kincaid starting for them. Why would Kincaid be starting? Because it's Carolina. Kincaid loves playing Carolina. Carolina's 28-25-11, 4-4-2 in their last 10, 15-11-6 at home. And I'm projecting Darling probably because Ward played last night, although I wouldn't be surprised to see Ward play a back-to-back. Usually teams will switch out their goalie when they're playing a back-to-back game like this. To me, are you wondering? That was my tea. Just go ahead and, because I'm kind of thirsty because my throat's still. But Darling could very well play this game tonight, and yet it wasn't that long ago when I heard New Jersey announcers ripping Scott Darling on the radio while I was listening to the game from work for goals in the third period, where they're like, "Wow, those weren't good." And I'm just paraphrasing because they were quite on about how, wow, this isn't good goaltending. So I'm imagining they'll give Darling a chance to redeem himself tonight. But Kincaid is really good against Carolina. And it's good for Kincaid to play against Carolina because, that's the team that helped him bring his confidence up. So why not? And from then on, from that win over Carolina on, Kincaid played very well until Schneider got back. And not only that, but, even if Schneider feels pretty good right now coming off of a long-term injury like that, you don't want to put him in on a back-to-back night. So Kincaid's capable. He'll handle it. Everything's fine. I'm not going to predict a winner. Detroit and Winnipeg. Detroit 26-27-10 because they hate being 500 or above. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. 13-14-2 on the road. So their road record and home record are pretty similar, except they got a lot of overtime losses at home. Winnipeg 37-17-9 overall, 6-4 in their last 10, 23-7-2 at home. That's still an excellent record. They've had a couple of setbacks at home. Goaltenders, they haven't been confirmed yet, so I just put Howard and Hellebuck. In this situation, I could see Hutchinson because it's Detroit. It's one of the teams that's not in the playoffs. I could see it being Hutchinson and Hellebuck for the next game. And for Detroit, it'll be Howard because it's just going to be Howard. I'd be kind of surprised if it wasn't. Detroit is and remains a team that they're on the outskirts. They've got 62 points. So mathematically, they're still alive for a playoff spot. But selling off Tatar. Now, not selling off Green apparently came down to the fact that he only wanted to go to Tampa and Washington. And Tampa was out after they got McDonough. And Washington, it just didn't work. And that was it. So Green, and it's funny too because fans get mad at players that do that. I know Canuck fans got mad at Dan Hamhuis for not waiving his no trade, wanting to stay in Vancouver till he was a free agent. There was always some rumors about whether or not that's what had happened, and of course Dion Phaneuf refused to waive his no trade for Ottawa last summer. We know how that turned out. I don't get mad at players for not waiving their no trade clause. What's the point of having it if they have to waive it every time that a GM asks? I mean, if they've negotiated a no trade clause, that means they have final say. And so when a player says, yeah, I'm not going, I don't get mad at the player. I just turn around and look at the GM and say, you probably shouldn't have given him that no trade clause if you knew you were going to want to trade him. And if you didn't know, then you can't be angry with the result. Although it's not usually the GMs that get mad. It's ownership might get mad, and the fans often do, and they get mad at the player, which is like, wait, but the team signed him to that. Don't get mad at him for exercising a clause the team gave him. It's just ridiculous. So Green and the Wings will be in Winnipeg tonight, trying to at least get back to 500. They like it at 500, just not above. And they can slip below, but if they slip a few games below, they get right back to it, and then they fall right back under it again. It's so weird. It's been happening all year. All right, Minnesota. So the Wild lost last night to Arizona. Minnesota is looking to bounce back, and they're in Colorado. That's a tough call. Minnesota's 36-21-7 overall. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. They're 14-16-1 on the road. Yeah, if they'd won that one on the road last night, they would have brought their road record to 500. Dubnyk's playing tonight after Stalock played last night. For Colorado, 34-24-5 is the record. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. They're 22-8-1 at home. Colorado has an excellent home record. Varlamov is the confirmed starter, and this is a tricky one. Colorado destroyed Minnesota not that long ago. At least not that long ago for me. The days just kind of blend together. And I remember that I took some flack because I still had Minnesota ahead of Colorado on the power rankings. Actually, I think that was at the start of that 10-game winning streak. And so I look at this matchup tonight and I'm like, Colorado's killed them before. They can do it again because they're at home. And look at these records: 22-8-1 at home, 14-16-1 on the road. And Minnesota on a back-to-back coming off losing against Arizona. That being said, remember, Tampa lost at home to Buffalo, then went out the next night and they won in Dallas. So that rule kind of goes out the window. Bless you. That rule kind of goes out the window. I'd still take Colorado, though, personally. The Avs are again, much like Carolina or the Islanders, they're not out, but they're close. Because even though they're only a few points back or 2 points back, they really need to capitalize. This is the time to start capitalizing on some things. And beating Minnesota, especially in regulation, would be huge. Make Minnesota start doubting themselves. Get the Wild start thinking, geez, have we peaked? Did we peak about a week ago and we missed it? Or and jump on them for being tired, jump on them early. Anytime a team's on a back-to-back, I always look for the team that's rested to jump on them and get a 2-0 lead early. And usually, if a team will get a 2-goal lead, they can get that right through to the end of the game. Usually. That being said, there are certain teams that struggle with that, like Edmonton, Vancouver, some of the teams that are lower in the league, and that's part of their problem, is confidence and being able to maintain it for 60 minutes. It's such a simple, and every time you ask a player on any of these teams, what do you have to do to win tonight? Well, you got to play a full 60 minutes, and of course your answer is, well, yeah, of course. That's dumb, but there are times where you watch a team and you're like, wow, 2 periods of the game they played well, and the other period, I don't know who the hell that was, but that sucked. So for the Avs, they have to jump on Minnesota early and then maintain it, because Minnesota should be coming into tonight kind of angry, as well as kind of feeling shell-shocked that they lost to the very surprisingly good Arizona Coyotes. New York. So the Rangers went in and they beat Vancouver a couple nights ago. They're 28-30-6 now. They're 3-6-1 in their last 10. They've now won 10 on the road for the season. They're 10-18-2. Lundqvist is confirmed as the starter because I really think that with the way this season has gone, he wants to play as many games as possible to do his best to help the Rangers not have a terrible record. And not only that, but Pavelec, you never know what you're getting with Pavelec. No idea. We're talking about a guy who has trouble playing a full 60. Just ask Jets fans. Calgary, 32-24-9, 4-5-1 in their last 10. They're only 14-14-4 at home. That kind of surprised me. I look at that and I see an 18-10-5 road record. So, what happens at home in Calgary? Do they try to play too pretty? Do they and that's something that does happen where players try to get a little fancy at home for the home crowd, or maybe they're nervous or something along those lines. But when they're 500 at home and they're 8 games above 500 on the road, that's concerning. Gillies is the likely starter tonight. The only good news if you're a Flames fan and you're looking at that record is, should they make the playoffs, the odds of them having home ice advantage are slim. So the fact that they would start the playoffs on the road, right now looking at the road record, that's to their advantage. So it's all part of their plan. No. This is a game that Calgary should win because the Rangers are pretty lousy. And yet, while the record's lousy over the last 10, Nemesnikov and Spooner, guys right after trades, very often perform very, very well. The trick with that is, and I know Rangers fans are going to look at the scoring totals of these guys and go, wow, next year's going to be awesome. The cautionary tale that I use is Colorado's Sven Andergetto. Sven Andergetto got traded to Colorado from Montreal. Montreal wasn't utilizing him properly. He gets to Colorado, he puts up tremendous point totals, he looks like he's going to be a top line guy. And that's not really him. But because it was over a short period of time, I made fans say, okay, this guy's going to be a big scorer next year. And it just didn't happen. And so while Nemesnikov is capable of being a 60-65 point guy, I'd be a little more guarded with Spooner. As long as Spooner's got somebody to feed the puck to, sure. But if Spooner's put on, say, third line next year, so when they get better players, Spooner drops to third line, you're probably going to see about 35 to 40 points out of him, and, about 10 of those points will be goals. That's probably about where he's going to end up. He may top out at 45 points, and I'm not saying that's dog food or anything, but yeah, it's a situation where if you're Calgary tonight, you've got to worry about these guys who feel energized being traded. And not only that, but there's two ways to respond when you're a player. You get traded from a contending team, okay? So you get traded from a contending team to a team that's just terrible in their record. You're saying the Rangers are terrible? No, I'm saying the record's terrible. So for a guy like Nemesnikov, he's gone from, hey, I might win a cup to, well, we might get the number one draft pick in a day. For Spooner, it's kind of the same thing. Spooner went from a contender to not a contender. You kind of get angry about that and want to prove that that team shouldn't have traded you, or you can mail it in. And clearly these guys aren't guys that mail it in. There's nothing more frustrating than when a guy gets traded to your team and you watch him on the ice and you're like, oh, he doesn't want to be here. Oh, he's miserable. And then, the points aren't there and he just doesn't want to be there. And that does happen. Absolutely it does. Okay, Columbus, 32-27-5, 5-4-1 in their last 10, 13-16-3 on the road, and they lost last night in LA. Bobrovsky is starting. They're on the road against Anaheim. Anaheim's 31-21-12, so 12 overtime losses. All right. 6-2-2 in their last 10, 16-9-5 at home. Miller's the probable starter until Gibson gets back. This is an interesting one. Columbus is on a back-to-back, as other teams are as well. Columbus is coming off of a loss on the road, as other teams are as well. The Anaheim Ducks are a little bit rested. Same. Anaheim, I've been waiting for them to go on a dominant run. It's been a good run for them. I don't know that I'd call it dominant. I don't know that this is what I was thinking of, but you know what? It's fine. Anaheim will take it. They're sitting at 74 points. And while only 62 of those are from wins, it doesn't matter. It's just you get to the dance. It doesn't matter how you got there. So for the Ducks, this is a big game, as they all are right now. And honestly, again, and I'm trying to look at it from a point of view of, okay, who would I take? Well, you've got Columbus, who the record on the road isn't great. You've got Anaheim, who have a decent home record and a good record over their last 10. But I'm still waiting for Columbus to get back to where they're supposed to be. Columbus isn't supposed to be a a team that's teetering on being out of the playoffs. That wasn't supposed to happen this year. So for them, and I'd like to see them make the playoffs 2 years in a row for a change. That'd be a brand new thing for them. And Tortorella is certainly capable of getting them there as the coach. But man, I don't want to go against the Ducks right now. Because I know that as the season wears on, the Ducks usually get better. And they have gotten better. They're not at the stage right now where I kind of had expected them to go on a run, sort of like a Nashville or Vegas early in the year, that kind of thing. I've been expecting that kind of thing, like an 8-9 game winning streak and winning games by 5-1, 4-0 scores. But it just hasn't been happening that way. The good news is Miller's likely to be the starter. Miller's played very well for Anaheim. No surprise to anybody who's paying attention last season. Miller's still a very good goaltender. He just didn't have defense in front of him last year in Vancouver. Now that he does, which is odd because Anaheim allows a lot of shots, but the overall defense is better. And I look at those shot totals and I think, you know what, a lot of them are probably from the perimeter. But either way, Miller's putting up good numbers, and Anaheim's in a relatively good position. Nashville, Vancouver. No, I'm not taking a winner. Nashville 40-14-9 overall, 8-2 in their last 10. Still, to me, playing the best hockey in the league. 18-7-6 on the road. Saros is probably the starter because Rene played last night in Edmonton. Vancouver's 24-32-8 overall. They're 3-5-2 in their last 10, and they're 11-15-5 at home. Holy crap! They're 11-15-5 at home. Markstrom's probably the starter, not like it matters. So here's the deal with Vancouver. Early, and I do mean early, Leipzig looks good. Leipzig looks like he's going to fit right in. And Leipzig might be a guy who makes Berchi tradable. I could see that. I could see at the end of this year the Canucks deciding to move Berchi because he'd have some value, and go with Leipzig. And because it's one of those crazy things that Benning will do, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But tonight they get a big test because team, as I said, playing the best hockey in the league right now comes in the Nashville Predators. They're up to 89 points, and they can really get a stranglehold on first overall in the West. They can stay in the running for first overall in the entire NHL with a win tonight. I don't see any reason why they won't. And it's funny because, again, they're on a back-to-back. I could use a lot of the same arguments I use with Columbus and Minnesota, but this is Nashville, and it's different. Nashville has, fresh troops. Ryan Hartman. What the hell? How? How did they get Ryan Hartman? And now Tolvanen's coming over too. They don't need more weapons. They just don't. Don't need more weapons in Nashville. And for Vancouver, again, as long as Brock gets his 30th tonight, I'm happy. I don't care if they win or lose. I haven't been caring about whether or not Vancouver wins or loses since October. I just want to see Brock get goals. Seeing Horvat get 3-point games is fun. I'd like to see Horvat get some points. And just seeing the kids develop. So while I may not have been happy about the Vanek trade, I wasn't. I'd love to see Tyler Mott come out, prove me wrong, score some points, play a good physical game in the bottom six, anything. And while I said you can't look at a small sample size and say, okay, he's going to be this next year, he's going to be that next year. It is fun to watch new guys in the lineup and just see how they do. So the Canucks have a couple of those. It's not awe-inspiring for me, but again, they're playing out the string anyways. I just wanted to see more draft picks. I really, any draft picks, anything. Nashville, though, should win this game. I can't see them losing this game. I just can't see it. Ottawa, 21-31-10 overall, 3-6-1 in their last 10. 7-18-5 on the road. Yeah, that road record's killing them. That road record is awful. And when you look at Ottawa's problems and Eugene Melnyk sending out this heartfelt, tear-jerking letter, which you could almost see him erasing Rangers or whiting out Rangers and just putting Senators. All the GMs are doing it now. What the hell? It's like the Rangers sent this out and all the fans went, Yay, we've got an explanation, and other owners are like, hey, we can do that. We can do that too. Um, Vegas 41-17-5 overall, 6-3-1 in their last 10, 24-6-2 at home. Um, this is as much of a mismatch as you can get. Ottawa's won 7 games on the road all year. Vegas has lost 6 in regulation at home all year. Fleury's probably the starter against Anderson. Again, that's a mismatch. They could go with leg SA, and I would still prefer to bet on Vegas over Ottawa. Um, for Ottawa fans, it's been a miserable season. And according to Eugene Melnick, you were 1 goal away from the Stanley Cup. Yes, he said it again in the letter he wrote to the season ticket holders. Stop. Stop bringing up last year's playoffs. You can't coast on that when your team's 21-31-10. Those playoffs are long forgotten. They're over, they're gone, they're dead. Stop telling people, remember, we were 1 goal away. 1 goal away, yeah. And the Canucks reached the final in 82, and they did nothing for half a decade after that. So, yeah, you can't look at what you did one year in the playoffs and say, all right, well, we're going to keep mentioning that to our fan base. They know. Senators fans know. And tonight, Vegas could put a thrashing on them. The nice thing is, look at that. You got Centurions and you got Knights. So maybe some fencing can break out at some point, because these logos look like they should be in a fencing match or some kind of a medieval fair. They could do that. You could have a medieval fair after the game. Maybe Ottawa could win that. But I don't see them winning this game. And if you look at a team, and we always debate over who needs Rasmus Dahlin the most, Ottawa would love to get that number 1 draft pick. And when they do the draft lottery, if Ottawa gets that number 1 draft pick, I'll probably cheer, because then you have Dahlin and Carlson potentially on the blue line. And not only that, but if Carlson is legitimately wanting out of Ottawa, and I haven't seen any indication that he wants out of Ottawa, if he legitimately wants out, he may be convinced to stick around, because Rasmus Dahlin is Swedish, a young kid, supposed to be a generational style talent on the blue line. And Carlson might want to stick around and mentor the kid and maybe learn a couple things from him, because he's got some amazing moves and he's an amazingly talented kid. So, yeah, I will definitely cheer when they do the draft lottery should Ottawa win it. But that's a long ways off, and we'll live stream that, because, that's kind of the thing I do now. But anyways, yeah, there's your games, 9 of them. You guys can let me know your winners, and we can debate that. No editing those posts after the games are done, because that's not fair. Don't do that. But anyways, thank you guys very much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And I'll talk to you again soon.